a non-Glock Glock. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's fall and a pumpkin needs to be shot every now and then, doesn't it? So is a 2-liter. Let's knock. Yeah, get him off there. What you see is what you see. It's basically a Glock 19 clone, so to speak. All right. So I brought a regular Glock 19 out. This one's pretty much stock, Gen 4, except for it's got night sights on it, put on years ago. It might be the one I bought from 10 Outdoors 9, I don't know. And they're the same size. This one does have a threaded barrel, but other than that, you know, the same. And when I say same, same basic firearm, except the shadow system. This one, the MR920, is basically a Glock Gen 3 clone. Okay, I think it has some parts that might look more like a Gen 4, but it's mostly a Gen 3 clone. All right, and so it's got a kind of a single spring, doesn't have the double spring, the Gen 4 spring system, and that sort of thing. But it is a Glock clone for sure. So what do you got? Well, it takes Glock mags. Now, one of the mags, the first one I fired in it was a P mag. 2 P mags come with it. Okay, and but of course it uses Glock magazines, and it's different looking, isn't it? You see, now this one is the combat model, and there's some models I'm not even clear on all the model numbers and names and all that kind of thing, but they do make this in a Glock 17 format. Okay, this is the Glock 19 format, and they make a kind of a Glock 45. They got a variation with a say a Glock 19 grip and a long slide. They got the short slide and the long grip. So you got all those models. You can look at the website and figure out which is which. And they've got some elite models, and they've got this combat model. The elite's a little more expensive. It's got more cutouts in the slide. Some of them have a bronze-looking, copper, brass-looking finish on the barrel. You know, you'll see that looks cool to some people and ugly to others. And it's got actual cutouts, lightning cuts in the slide. It's a little more expensive, maybe by a couple $100 or something. It has a tritium front sight, and you see the rear sight's pretty cool. So that's one of the upgrades on it, the tritium sight. I can see on top of the tritium sight a big gong over there. Yeah, that's the one negative. It has to have a round in the chamber where it won't fire. Yeah, if it were really innovative, it wouldn't require that, would it? See if I can hit that, see if it's ambi. Hey, pumpkin! Yeah. I never get enough opportunity to pick on pumpkins. I don't know what I'm doing, just feel like shooting weak-handed a little bit. So yeah, it takes Glock 17 mag, pretty cool. And that wants to loosen on me, and I keep burning my finger for some reason on that. I don't know why. It doesn't look hot, so it shouldn't be hot if it doesn't look hot, should it? You got a pretty nice grip texture, although it'd be nicer if it was all the way around, but it's not bad. You got a beaver tail. That's pretty nice. I like that. It's not too extreme or anything. Got your Glock rail. Okay, still using that. You got a pretty nice undercut. You know, I always have to undercut my Glocks, do a little dremeling under there to get rid of that hump. Well, they've sort of done that. I think that would suffice. I don't think, I wouldn't need to do any dremeling on that. So that's a nice trigger guard. What else do you have? You got a nice mag release button there. I think it's more like a Gen 4. I believe it's reversible. Okay. You got the fluted barrel, spiral fluted barrel, and that's supposed to help gather dirt, keep from clogging up the gun if you were to. I guess it also helps cool the, hey, it does, the barrel's already cool. It helps cool the barrel off generally. I think that's why LWRC does that. And so what else? I'll tell you one thing that is, because of the cuts and things, it's lighter than a standard Glock. Okay, now I don't know how important that might be, although you get down into a very common carry gun, Glock 19, and if you can shave off a couple of ounces, that's something. You're talking about in the neighborhood of 24 for ounces for a Glock 19 standard, and in the neighborhood of 22 ounces, just a little over for this. And with the more expensive one, the Elite model that has the cutouts, more of the lightning cuts, it is definitely, I think it might be even more than just a little over 2 ounces less than the Glock 19. This one is almost 2 ounces less. So there's not a lot of difference with the extra lightning cuts, but there's still a few, and it makes it even lighter. There's also an interesting thing. This company, if you're involved, just so you'll know this, in a defensive shooting with one of their firearms, and you're in the right, okay, they will replace your gun if it ends up in an evidence locker. They'll give you a new one, okay? I know that preys on the minds of some people who don't know a lot about the law and how court cases go and how expensive lawyers are, who you'll see a comment on the internet about how, well, I wouldn't carry an expensive gun like that, man. You get in a shooting, that thing be in an evidence locker, Because I usually say that's the least of your worries if you're ever involved in that sort of altercation. You're going to spend a lot of money on lawyers. Oh man, it feels good. I got to shoot that plate over there. Let's see. Yeah, those sights are nice. Yeah, I was even able to miss a swinging plate on the last shot. I've got ammo on me for a change. I'm going back in the fight. Yeah. I'm just throwing ammo, having fun doing it. Okay, let it cool off a little bit. I'll take it apart. The biggest negative for me, maybe it really is different, isn't it? Looks different. It's wow. What they do to my Glock 19, you might think a lot of this busy work, the cuts and everything would really offend me. I guess they really don't. Again, the reason I wasn't offended by these too much back in the 80s, they're so functional and they work so reliably that I was not offended by that, okay? I can handle ugly. Well, I don't know, you might consider this ugly, you might consider it pretty. If it functions and it's practical, that's okay. I can handle that. The thing that disappoints me a little bit is the trigger. Now, you might say as I'm shooting around here, it looks like the trigger is just fine, and it is. But, oh, man, if you pick one of these up in a shop and you take the mag out, there won't be a mag in it probably, and you pull that trigger, you will... you might just throw up. I mean, if you're a gun person, you probably are a gun person, or you wouldn't pick one of these up in a gun shop. You wouldn't be in a gun shop, right? I mean, the trigger is horrible. It's worse than any Glock I had back in the I guess it was mid to late 80s that I bought. Those first Glock 17s I bought, I chose Glock 17 because that was the only Glock. And the triggers were mushy, spongy, long, not just spongy, long and spongy. And that's what I get with this one. Now, I will say, John and I can't believe it, how bad it is. I mean, you got this company that, these are sort of higher dollar Glocks. And they do a lot of things right. They're really cool in so many ways. But, oh my gosh, the trigger on this one. I don't know if they're all like this, but it is horrendously ridiculous, okay? Now, on the positive side, as with Glocks, I've noticed since the 80s, I've noticed this phenomenon. It's not really a phenomenon, there's a reason for it. When you put the mag in, see it's cocked, and then you pull the trigger, it's still bad, but it's not quite as bad. So anyway, but I don't know. It's like we've all noticed before, and you all have too, I guess. You pull a gun in a shop or like this, and you're just pulling that thing. Okay, look at this. This spongy, rough, finally breaks. Reset. Reset's not too bad. It's not too long, okay? But oh my gosh, you got to go through so much sponge. before that thing breaks, and then it even sounds cheap or something. I don't know what it is, but that's that's really my biggest negative with the gun. I don't have a lot of negatives. A lot of it, you could argue, is an improvement over this firearm. You could argue that. Not necessarily a big improvement that was desperately needed, right? Because any of us can take this firearm right here and do just fine, you know, in any situation if we can shoot at all.